Hey, it's Mike Tangretta, and I wanted to share a video with you on the backstory of why In-Home Trainer was created, and just a little bit about myself. And one of the reasons I've helped, and one of my missions now is to help a ton of personal trainers. Um, so really, what essentially ended up happening was, as a kid, I was actually an overweight kid, and basically transformed my life through fitness and health. And one day saw an ad online. Actually, it was in the newspaper at that time. No, online, not even online. It was actually in a magazine, I believe, and it was become certified as a personal trainer. And so I thought, wow, this is cool. I've helped myself, lose a bunch of weight. I've transformed myself. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could help other people? And sort of that was my passion, and one of the reasons why I ended up getting certified. So I ended up getting certified, got my first personal training job. This was back in 2006. And so I ended up getting my first personal training job. And, at the time I was still living at home and, was working a few hours a day. I think I was working maybe 3 or 4 clients, picked up another job as a personal trainer because I realized, okay, well, I have all this time. I'm young. I'm still living at home. Let me do another job as a personal trainer. And suddenly my schedule started to become more busy, more full. So I had some clients at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I also had some clients, at 7 a.m., 9 a.m. It was starting to fill up. And then with my other job, I had some evening training sessions as well. So I had a job I had some clients like from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so I was making both jobs work, which was awesome. And I was getting clients, I was getting some experience, and what they don't tell you in personal training school is that is one way to really burn yourself out. So imagine this: I'm working at 6 a.m. and I'm working this gym job, and I'm getting up every morning at 6 a.m. and I've got my clients at 6, 7, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Maybe I have a break, I go home for lunch, and then I head back out for my other job at 4, and I'm working till like 9 p.m. But in the back of my mind, I'm never on break, because even if I get to go home and I have lunch for an hour from, let's say, 12 to 1, I really only have like another hour. And what would I do? I would actually probably take a nap, because I wanted to be fresh for those evening clients, because it wasn't fair to them to, be tired. I wanted that same energy that I had for my morning clients to be there for my evening client, the ones at 8 or 9 p.m. So that was awesome, but also a little bit of opening my eyes for me that, wow, I'm starting to get a little bit burnt out. I still wasn't quite burnt out at that point yet. Like I had a lot more energy. Like I said, I was a little younger. This was back in 2006. So I ended up getting another job. And crazy enough, I ended up getting a third job. And this third job now was working on a radio station doing hockey announcing, or talking about hockey and NHL announcing and hockey and all that sort of stuff. So now I had my training job, my 2 training jobs, and I had this third job where I was working an overnight shift from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And again, young, money was starting to now come in a little more. I had 3 jobs. I ended up buying my first house, put a down payment on my first house. And at the time I had met my girlfriend, who now is my wife. And I just remember, being with her and seeing her as often as I could with working 3 jobs, and that was not often enough. So I brought this, this old house, even though it was my first house, it was an old house. It needed a lot of fixing up, a lot of renovating. And what ended up happening was, I had my money. I'd left the nest of home. I had my money. I was putting it down to a down payment, and I had to do all these renovations on top of it, and started piling up a bunch of credit card debt. And it quickly dawned on me then and there that, if I kept going down this road of working 3 jobs, I'm not going to be able to, see my girlfriend. And I remember specifically one night, my girlfriend had got all ready, all dressed up, and we were about to meet. And I felt so bad, but I had to cancel on her. I was exhausted. I was doing rentals at my house. I had 3 jobs, and you can imagine the disappointment in her. She had got all ready. Whatever girls do to get ready. I'm sure it's a lot more than what us guys do. And here am I, bailing on her last minute because I'm exhausted. I'm working so much and I can just pay my mortgage, and now I don't even have enough to pay my credit card debt. And, on the new house. And so, I'm going through this struggle in my mind of what am I going to do? Like something's got to change. I'm getting burnt out. I can't even see my girlfriend, now wife. And so I just, I remember my mom was working at a newspaper station, and she'd worked in the newspaper business her whole life. And I said, I see all these people advertising in the newspaper. Mom, can you ask the owner of the newspaper if I can actually put an ad in there? And she did, and the owner gave me actually a bit of a discounted rate, which was awesome. And I put my first ad in the newspaper, and it was the worst ad you'd ever seen. It was the most horrible ad. It would had like a Microsoft Word image, like a stick man running, and it just said some points about personal training in your home, and how to lose weight, will drop body fat percentage. And I put this ad in. I remember specifically it came out on a Wednesday, and this was, now fast forward, I think this is 2008, because that's when I bought my house. So I put this ad out, and it came out. The weekly paper came out on a Wednesday and a Sunday. And these are local, really local, north of Toronto suburbs. And I remember the ad coming out on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday morning, I had 3 phone calls, and I was like, whoa. 3 phone calls. What am I going to do? How am I going to call these people? What am I going to say to them? So luckily, I ended up convincing one of the 3 to actually book a session with me in their home. And so I ended up booking this personal training session in home. And I made up some packages on the fly, like the night before. I think, I met her on the weekend, and she's still actually a client to this day, which is a really funny story. And that's the power of in-home training. Like, you develop these awesome relationships. This is 10 years later now. And so I ended up meeting her, and she ended up buying my largest package. And at the time, my largest package was 20 sessions. And I had at a discounted rate for $60. So for buying the 20 sessions. And she brought it, and it was $1,200. And she paid me that night with check. And I remember driving home with this check in my hand for $1,200. And saying, geez, this whole check is going to cover my mortgage right now. And all the extra money I have, I'm actually going to be able to pay off my credit card debt. And it dawned on me, like, this $1,200 I made from this one sale was more than I had been making at the gym. Even though I was selling $10,000 worth of training for the gym at that time, I had a bunch of clients that were liking my training style. I was never seeing that. It gets paid out very, very slowly. And, I'd be lucky if my check was like $600, right? So I ended up having this $1,200 check, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this again. And I ran that second ad on Sunday, and lo and behold, the phone rang again, and I had more messages. And so I had 3 or 4 different messages. And again, I ended up convincing 2 people to do a session with me, a first session. And again, the same thing happened. I had another check for $1,200. I had another one for like $600. And suddenly one day I'd made $2,000. And it was really when I realized that, wow, in-home training is something that is awesome. I know I've transformed myself. I do workouts at the gym, but I've also done a ton of workouts at home. And now I'm teaching people that don't necessarily want to go to the gym or have these same issues working out at home. So that was really, really awesome. And that's sort of, when I realized that personal training would be awesome. And so I started getting more ads, and I put more ads, and I put one in a local newspaper in Aurora, and I put another one in a local newspaper in Bradford, and one in Richmond Hill. And, I started increasing my budget because I had some money coming in, and more people started calling. And guess what? I ended up getting full. I ended up getting a really, really busy schedule. And it was great. And I started bringing in a team of subcontractors, and now these subcontractors are working. And that was awesome too. And then what I remember, one of the things that I remember happening. So I had this business, I had these subcontractors. I think I had 6 subcontractors at the time. And what started happening was the subcontractors that were working for me were doing awesome. They're making money. They're getting work. But then all of a sudden the phone stopped ringing, and I couldn't figure out why. It was like really like from getting 4 messages, every time an ad run, it became like 1, and then it became 0. And I remember realizing that, people are not reading the newspaper anymore. And I remember looking at myself, I'm like, well, what was the most recent thing I brought? And I think I went online, I searched for like it was like hockey. I think it was like a hockey camp at the time, because I'm really big into hockey. So I ended up buying this hockey program online. I said, geez, I bet you my customers for personal training are looking online as well. So I developed the In-Home Trainer website. And that was really, really awesome, because online is, I knew that's where you got to be. And now, thankfully, the website generates over 3,000 hits a month. So that was awesome. But before that, if I take a step back, when I started drying up with leads in the newspaper, I had these subcontractors. And I felt the responsibility to them, because they were working for me. They were putting in great hours. But suddenly I couldn't get them clients, and I had to lay off a few of them, or just not give them any more clients, and they found other jobs to go to. And that was really kind of heartbreaking, because I knew they had family, I knew they had rent, and I knew they wanted to work as trainers, but they just couldn't make it meet, or couldn't make ends meet in the industry. So, it took a little bit of a while, but I ended up geeking out on all this stuff on internet. How to build an awesome website, how to get followers, how to get people to come to your website. And it took some time, but suddenly the same thing that happened with the newspaper started happening online, but just in more abundance. And more people started finding us online, and I could build up my team of subcontractors. And it was awesome. Like the business is flourishing. I'm doing great. At this point now, I'm married. We've basically almost paid off our mortgage, and things are doing awesome. So I'm doing really, really good. And then what started to happen once again is one of the main reasons why I help personal trainers is right now is a lot of the subcontractors started to come to me and saying, listen, like I'm working 2 jobs, I'm working 3 jobs. I appreciate all the work you're giving me, and I really love going out there and doing my work as a personal trainer. But and at the time I'm paying my subcontractors more than what a gym would pay, between $30 and $35 an hour. And I realized they're having a hard time making it meet. And I remembered back to when I was working at the gym and remembering I was in the exact same scenario. It's no different. I was a personal trainer, just working for a gym, and they were basically a personal trainer just working for me. And I said, geez, there's got to be a better way. And that's where now my mission has become to help personal trainers. Because I know there is a better way. I've done it. And I know the numbers exactly in my head. So if you want to take out a pen and paper, or if you just want to listen to this, but $70 an hour is sort of what the average session that we sell in home for. If you work 5 hours a day at $70 an hour, that's just 5 hours a day, $70 an hour. For a 35-hour work week, your net is $127,400. And that is really what I teach trainers. You don't need to burn yourself out. You don't need to be working like I was, 3 jobs, working a midnight shift, unless you have the energy and you want to, by all means. But there is a smarter way. Look for those 5 clients. You have your vision, and let's get there, okay? So you have your 5 clients a day, $70 an hour, an average session, and write this number down on your board or wherever it may be, but that should be, or at least that was my goal. And your goal may be totally different. Your goal may be, I want to work 25 hours a week and maybe scale my business. And another way to scale your business is we can look and talk about, online training, or maybe you do want to have one subcontractor and pay them really good, and grow your business that way. But whatever it is, remember your vision, and just, you will get there. So I just thought I'd share that story with you on sort of the history of In-Home Trainer, how In-Home Trainer was born. I hope you found it valuable, and if you ever need any help growing your business, I'm always here for you.